Hello, everyone, and welcome back to a new episode of Tech and Talks Coffee Chat. My name is Martin. I lead business development for life sciences at Retorio, and I'm your host today. I really look forward to our conversation today again with Rolf. And Rolf, would you mind kicking things off by quickly introducing yourself?
Yeah, thanks, Martin, and thanks for having me today. My name is Rolf Fricker. So I was a long time leading executive in the pharmaceutical industry. I was leading large sales forces, and then later I started to become a strategy consultant, a senior partner, so in different large strategy houses. And since that time, so I'm working together with customer-facing organizations, did a lot more or less in transforming the commercial model within the industry, and I'm happy to become part of the interview today.
Good to have you with us today, Rolf. All right, so let's continue our insightful conversations, building up on the themes we've explored in our previous discussions around the evolving landscape of pharma sales, and also we talked about customer engagement. So, Rolf, let's be honest. With digital channels, medical portals, and also AI on the rise, many might ask, do we even need sales reps anymore? And so, what's your opinion on that? Are reps still essential?
Yeah, Martin, this is the evergreen in the industry. Yeah, so this discussion. Yeah, so I think this discussion is ongoing since decades. In the meantime, yeah, and there was a prediction. I know many experts who predicted that the sales rep will disappear more sooner than later. Yeah, so there were many things so that were evolving in the industry. I remember a time in Germany, for example, where the health insurances started discussions, so to ask for an entry fee, that a sales rep should pay an entry fee before entering a physician office. This was one thing. So then later we had, let's say, the whole digital wave that was evolving in the industry, where everybody said the more digital we will become, the more we can replace the sales rep. Yeah, so then we had a more disruptive moment in the industry when COVID has taken over, and overnight the sales reps have been disclosed from the physician offices in many countries. And this was the time where everybody said, now we need to switch the whole model from a face-to-face model towards a more digital model, or exclusively to digital models, so in a more omni-channel world. But not that many pharmacos have been ready to switch the model overnight. But as we can see today in many European countries, so the pendulum was swinging back. And what we see is then after COVID, that in many countries, so the sales rep came back. So and more it went back into a directly customer-facing discussion. In some countries, we're still in a digital world, but in many European countries, so the sales rep is back on track, so to say. What we see is over time that there is a high degree of flexibilization, where you don't have the employed sales reps anymore. So the contract sales forces so came up, and they have their place in the market in the meantime. So and many other, let's say, flexibilization type of approaches so came into the industry and have been launched in the industry. But the whole conversation around the sales rep and that the sales rep will disappear, I don't believe that. It's a kind of a different setup for the future.
Yeah, very good points, Rolf. I mean, like you said, it's the evergreen, it's the million-dollar question, which is on the mind of many. So now, assuming or actually saying, hey, the rep is gonna stay important, will be important. The fact that they are no longer the sole point of contact significantly though alters the function. So, what do you think about that? Reps used to be the main gateway to HCPs, and now they're more touch point among many. So what does that mean for the role moving forward? Are we maybe even expecting too much from them?
I would tend to disagree here. So I still believe, so there are many, let's say, situations, and I still believe that the rep, so if we can talk about the rep, sometimes it's the sales rep, sometimes it's a key account manager, sometimes it's the medical scientific liaison officer, being the face to the customer. And even in a digital world and in a multi-channel world, I see these persons as being the face to the customer. So we have some models like Roche have two faces to the customer. This is the one to the physician and the other one to authorities like the health insurances and so on. But I would see, let's say, in an omni-channel world, the other channels just being seconding, supporting the sales rep in the role, so as being the one face to the customer.
100%, you're right. I mean, it's a crucial point about managing expectations and also though, like redefining responsibilities, especially like you mentioned in the multi-channel, in the omni-channel world. Then to now navigate the evolving landscape that we're seeing, the need for adaptation and new skills is also paramount, I would say. So we do talk a lot about reskilling, but what would you say? What does it actually take to make a rep future ready? So not just compliant, but to stay or to be truly irreplaceable?
Yeah, that's a very, very good question. So and it's also a question of finding the right balance, I would say. So depending on the interest and the prescribing behavior of the physicians and the product category we are in, so we need to distinguish between orphans, specialties, more, let's say, a typical general medicine product, so being under pressure in a competitive environment, or if we're talking about a mature product where the patent will expire or is already expired, so then we have a different situation. I think the rep can become replaceable, if the so-called carryovers, so this means the revenue stream, so without sales rep support, without marketing support, is stable, so then you can replace the sales rep, but this is a different life cycle stage. But normally, so I would say it's difficult more or less to replace a sales rep.
So from your view, what's like the biggest mindset shift, especially reps themselves need to make today in order to stay future ready, to be future ready? And do you also see opportunities to support that shift, especially at scale?
So I think the mindset of a sales rep, so of a traditional sales rep is, this is my customer, this is my region, this is my territory, and I decide what to do within my region, and what to do with the customer. This has changed significantly. On one hand, so and I mentioned that already, so after the COVID times, the patients are not frequently using more or less a physician visit. There are also other ways of interacting. So the internet plays a role, the pharmacist plays a role. And then also we have to admit that more and more physicians so are heavily overburdened with administration. There is less time for the sales rep and for the sales rep interaction. And then what we discussed already, the digital world, the omni-channel world, whereas sales rep needs more or less to open up for new, let's say, technological things supporting him in his or her work, in the daily work. Therefore, I see a high need more or less and a high degree of flexibilization, opening up more or less the mind for new technologies, a different type of customer, and then let's say many other things come into the game here, for the sales rep.
Yeah, very good point. In that case, now to actually conclude and to reflect on the changes and needs that we're seeing, I think it's valuable to consider how we prepare our customer facing teams. And to end this session today, this leads me to our last question. If you could redesign pharma sales training from scratch, what would you leave behind, and what would you even focus more on today?
Yeah, I think what I would leave behind is more or less these more traditional things, the training methodologies, like face-to-face trainings in regions. So what many pharmacos are still doing, I would say a bit outdated. Yeah, and the question is it still productive? Yeah, what is being done? So every sales rep is driving with the car somewhere to a meeting point, to a hotel. Yeah, so and then they're doing more or less a training. So within their own peer group. So there is not that much news that are coming from outside, so into that group. So this is certainly one thing where I still believe high cost, high time effort, and very limited outcome and progress. Today, so I would bring in all, let's say, so the modern technologies that we might have. So is it an AI-driven training? So with what is important is to bring a sales rep into different situations. So together with different personas, because the physician is not more or less a homogeneous human being. So you have different personas, different situations, so different behavior and all of that. And what I would also do is more or less just applying methodologies where you get a direct and open feedback. So is it in a qualitative way? Is it in a quantitative way? And then also what is important, so to keep the momentum high. Also giving a clear group type of comparison. And keeping more or less the competition. So amongst the sales reps high. I know, so in some pharma companies, so this is not being well accepted. So there is quite often, there is the works council behind. So they don't want to see more or less a competition amongst the sales reps. But at the end, I think what they need to do is more or less selling products. So and I'm a great fan, more or less, of keeping up also the momentum, the motivation, and the competition within the team.
Amazing. Nothing further to add from my side, Rolf. This once again has been super helpful. So thanks again for your time today, and also thank you everyone for tuning in.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Martin.
You're welcome. See you next time.